Unfortunately, photography is not allowed inside the tombs unless you have special authority. Postcards, slides, and guidebooks with illustrations can be bought to compensate. Taking photographs in such a photogenic country becomes compulsive even for the amateur, so always carry plenty of film and make allowances for the strong sunlight. Early morning and late afternoon are the best times for photographers. If not on an organized tour, you can hire a taxi or a bicycle to get around the West Bank. Distances are too great to cover on foot. Better still, if you have a few hours to spare, hire a donkey and guide for some memorable views on the approach to the Valley of the Kings. You'll pass the Colossi of Memnon, two 50-foot statues that were feared by the Romans who conquered Egypt. They were said to wail at sunset. Whatever else you might forget to pack for an Egyptian holiday, a stout pair of shoes is essential. High heels and open-toed sandals just will not do for tramping over rubble-strewn sites, and a sun hat is not only useful, it's essential. The undisputed highlight for many is visiting the Valley of the Kings on the West Bank. These are the burial sites of the Egyptian kings. Most tombs have been robbed of much of their relics over the past centuries, except the most famous of them all, the tomb of Tutankhamun, the Boy King. This remained almost completely intact since the 18th century BC. Once you're inside Tutankhamun's tomb, you'll marvel how all the objects excavated from here, meant to accompany the young pharaoh into the afterlife, ever fitted into such a small space. The famous death mask often travels the world's museums, but its permanent place is now at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. To visit the queens of the pharaohs, you have to travel a few miles south of here, to the Valley of Queens. On the way to Aswan, our cruise boats call at Esna, where there's another chance to shop for souvenirs. Copperware, carpets and gold and silver jewellery are all reasonably priced, and cotton robes or gelibas, like those worn by the locals, make unusual presents to take home. There's no escaping. If you haven't been cornered yet, you will, and the souvenir you take home will surely be remembered. On the outskirts of town are the granite quarries where stone was found for many of the ancient statues. You can walk on a giant obelisk, part carved from the rock face, but never carried away. One of the excursions is a leisurely sail on a traditional felucca boat around Kitchener's Island. When he was British consul in Egypt during the last century, Lord Kitchener decided that this was the perfect place for planting the botanical gardens. He must have guessed right. The scenery here is picture perfect, and the late afternoon light invites the photographer to capture the memorable mixture of colours. Take time to gently float downriver, experiencing a more private cruise perhaps, sharing the sights and sounds with your boatman and the busy natives only a stone's throw away. along the magnificent riverbank. Aswan is a popular winter resort, being more attractive and a little warmer than Luxor, though there is less to see here in terms of historic sites. It's a pleasant place to relax for a few days and has half a dozen comfortable hotels. But anyone who's visited Abu Simbel will tell you that it's a grand finale to a holiday in Egypt. It was built for Ramses II, who furnished it with towering statues of himself, his wife, Queen Nefertiti, and his family. The dominating sitting figures are of Ramses II himself. They measure no less than 65 feet and are carved out of the sandstone of the cliff. The original work was completed around 1250 BC. It stood virtually intact for nearly 3,000 years, until it was realized that it was in the way of the new Aswan High Dam and would be destroyed. So it was moved instead. A massive removal program began, funded by UNESCO and an international appeal, and stone by stone, the ancient temple was moved to higher ground away from the flooded desert and the new lake. The inner chamber of the temple measures 180 feet, and it's made up of several smaller chambers leading to the central sanctuary. It's one of the marvels of a cruise up the Nile.
An extended version of this Sky Destinations programme is available on video for £12.45, including postage and